The 1% rule that can change your life forever. Imagine waking up tomorrow just 1% better than you are today. It doesn't sound like much. In fact, most people would probably ignore such a small improvement. They would say, 1% won't change my life. But what if that tiny improvement happened every single day for an entire year? What if every day you became just a little stronger, a little smarter, a little more disciplined, and a little more focused? The truth is that extraordinary success rarely comes from one massive breakthrough. More often, it comes from hundreds of small improvements that quietly compound over time. This idea is known as the 1% rule. The 1% rule is simple. Instead of trying to completely transform your life overnight, focus on becoming just a little better every day. Improve your habits, improve your mindset, improve your decisions, improve your skills. One small improvement may seem insignificant today, but when repeated consistently, those tiny changes become impossible to ignore. Think about nature. A tree doesn't grow several feet overnight. Every day it grows a little. The change is almost invisible, but after years of consistent growth, it becomes strong enough to survive storms and provide shade for generations. Your life works the same way. Every positive decision is another small step forward. Most people fail because they underestimate small actions. They believe success only comes from huge efforts. They wait for the perfect opportunity. They wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect plan. Unfortunately, while they're waiting, time keeps moving. Successful people understand something different. They know that today's small effort becomes tomorrow's big result. Reading 10 pages may not change your life today, but reading 10 pages every day means finishing dozens of books over the next few years. Exercising for 20 minutes won't transform your body overnight, but hundreds of workouts will completely change your health. Saving a small amount of money once may seem meaningless. Saving consistently develops financial discipline and creates opportunities over time. The 1% rule teaches patience. We often overestimate what we can accomplish in 1 week and underestimate what we can accomplish in 5 years. Real transformation happens gradually. That is actually good news, because you don't need to become perfect tomorrow. You only need to become slightly better than you were yesterday. One of the biggest mistakes people make is setting unrealistic expectations. They decide they're going to wake up at 5 in the morning, exercise for 2 hours, read 3 books every week, completely change their diet, and master several new skills all at once. For a few days, they feel excited. Then exhaustion appears. Soon, everything falls apart. Not because they lacked potential, because they tried changing everything at once. The 1% rule takes a different approach. Instead of chasing perfection, it focuses on progress. Progress is sustainable. Progress builds confidence. Progress creates momentum. Every small victory encourages another small victory. Momentum is powerful. Imagine pushing a heavy object. At first, it barely moves. Every push feels difficult. But once it begins rolling, keeping it moving becomes much easier. Your habits work exactly the same way. Starting is often the hardest part. Once consistency develops, discipline becomes much more natural. Another important lesson is that small negative habits also compound. Missing one workout isn't a disaster, but consistently avoiding exercise affects your health over time. Ignoring your finances once isn't life-changing. Repeated poor financial decisions eventually become serious problems. Watching 1 hour of meaningless content occasionally isn't harmful, but allowing distractions to consume every day slowly steals time that could have been invested in your future. Compounding works in both directions. Small positive choices create positive results. Small negative choices create negative results. Every decision matters. This doesn't mean you should become obsessed with perfection. Nobody makes perfect decisions every day. Everyone experiences setbacks. Everyone has difficult days. The important thing is returning to your positive habits as quickly as possible. One missed day does not destroy progress. Giving up completely does. Another reason the 1% rule works is because it changes your identity. Instead of saying, "I want to become successful," you begin asking, "What would a disciplined person do today?" Instead of trying to force huge changes, you simply act like the person you're becoming. If you want to become healthier, make healthy choices today. If you want to become knowledgeable, learn something today. If you want to become financially stronger, make one smart financial decision today. Your identity grows through repeated actions. Every action becomes evidence of the person you're becoming. Eventually, discipline no longer feels like something you force yourself to do. It becomes part of who you are. The 1% rule reminds us that greatness is rarely built through dramatic moments. It is built through ordinary days lived with extraordinary consistency. One better decision, one better habit, one better choice, day after day, year after year. That is how lasting success is created. And the best part is that anyone can begin today. You don't need special talent. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need everything figured out. You only need the willingness to become 1% better than you were yesterday. As you begin applying the 1% rule, something remarkable starts to happen. The changes are so small that you may not notice them from one day to the next. But over time, those small improvements begin to shape the person you become. One of the greatest benefits of the 1% rule is that it removes the pressure of perfection. Many people never start because they believe they need the perfect plan, the perfect timing, or the perfect conditions. They wait for a Monday, a new month, or even a new year. But while they're waiting, opportunities continue to pass by. The 1% rule teaches a different lesson. You don't need a perfect beginning. You only need a beginning. Every successful journey starts with one small step. Another important principle is consistency over intensity. It's far better to spend 30 minutes improving yourself every day than to work for 12 hours once and then quit for weeks. Consistency builds trust in yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. You begin believing that you are someone who follows through. That belief becomes part of your identity. And once your identity changes, your actions naturally begin to change as well. Another powerful lesson is learning to focus on systems instead of outcomes. Most people become obsessed with results. They constantly ask, when will I become successful? When will I make more money? When will my life change? Successful people ask a different question. What system will help me improve every day? Results come and go. Systems remain. If your goal is to become healthier, your system might include walking every morning, drinking more water, and preparing healthier meals. If your goal is to improve your career, your system may include learning a new skill each day, reading industry news, and practicing consistently. A good system makes progress automatic. Another lesson from the 1% rule is that your environment matters. Your surroundings influence your habits more than you realize. If distractions are always within reach, staying focused becomes harder. If your workspace is organized, concentrating becomes easier. If books are visible, you're more likely to read. If healthy food is available, making better choices becomes simpler. Small changes in your environment support small changes in your behavior, and those behaviors shape your future. The people around you also influence your mindset. Spend time with people who encourage growth, learning, honesty, and responsibility. Positive environments don't guarantee success, but they make positive habits easier to maintain. Another important principle is learning to celebrate progress instead of chasing perfection. Many people only feel successful after reaching a huge goal. But if you never recognize small victories, the journey becomes exhausting. Finished reading today? Celebrate the habit. Completed your workout? Celebrate the discipline. Learn something new? Celebrate the progress. Small victories create motivation for the next step. Another lesson is patience. Imagine planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it, protect it, trust the process. Growth happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible. Personal growth works exactly the same way. You may practice a skill for months before seeing significant results. You may work consistently without immediate recognition. That doesn't mean your effort is wasted. It means your foundation is getting stronger. The 1% rule also teaches resilience. There will be days when you lose motivation, days when life becomes stressful, days when you make mistakes. The goal isn't to avoid those moments. The goal is to recover quickly. Missing one productive day doesn't erase months of progress. Giving up completely does. That's why resilience matters more than perfection. Keep moving forward. Even if today's step is smaller than yesterday's, forward is still forward. Finally, remember that every expert was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once felt nervous. Every successful entrepreneur once had doubts. Every skilled professional started by knowing very little. What separated them wasn't extraordinary talent. It was the willingness to improve one day at a time. One lesson, one habit, one decision, 1% better. Those tiny improvements may seem ordinary today, but over months and years, they become the extraordinary foundation of an exceptional life. Because success isn't built in giant leaps. It's built through small, consistent actions repeated long enough to create lasting change. As you continue applying the 1% rule, you'll eventually discover that the greatest transformation doesn't happen in your bank account, your career, or even your achievements. It happens inside your mind. You begin thinking differently. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What can I learn from this?" That simple shift changes everything. Every challenge becomes a lesson instead of a setback. Every mistake becomes experience instead of failure. Every obstacle becomes another opportunity to grow stronger. This is how resilient people think. Another important lesson is understanding that success is not about competing with everyone else. In today's world, it's easy to compare your life with what you see online. You see people's biggest achievements, exciting moments, and milestones, but you rarely see the years of hard work, practice, and persistence behind them. Comparison often creates discouragement. Growth creates confidence. Instead of comparing yourself with someone else's journey, compare yourself with the person you were yesterday. Ask yourself, did I learn something today? Did I make one better decision? Did I improve one important habit? If the answer is yes, then you're moving in the right direction. The 1% rule reminds us that progress is personal. Another powerful principle is learning to manage your attention. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you have. Every notification, distraction, and unnecessary interruption takes away time you could invest in becoming better. Successful people protect their focus because they understand that focused work creates meaningful results. You don't have to work every hour of the day. You simply need to be fully present during the hours that matter most. 1 hour of focused learning is often more valuable than 4 hours of distracted effort. Quality matters just as much as quantity. The 1% rule also teaches gratitude. Gratitude doesn't mean becoming satisfied with staying where you are. It means appreciating how far you've already come while continuing to move forward. When you recognize your progress, you become more motivated to continue improving. Gratitude creates a healthier perspective. Instead of constantly focusing on what you don't have, you begin appreciating the opportunities, knowledge, and experiences that are already helping you grow. Another important lesson is staying flexible. Life doesn't always go according to plan. Unexpected challenges appear, goals change, new opportunities emerge. Sometimes the path you imagined isn't the path that leads to your greatest success. That's why adaptability is so valuable. Keep your purpose clear, but remain flexible in your methods. If one approach doesn't work, learn from it and adjust. Progress is not about never changing direction. It's about never giving up on your commitment to grow. 1% better may seem insignificant on a single day, but over hundreds of days, those tiny improvements completely transform your confidence, your skills, your habits, and your future. The strongest buildings aren't constructed in a single day. They're built brick by brick. Your future works exactly the same way. Every disciplined decision adds another brick. Every lesson learned strengthens the foundation. Every challenge overcome makes the structure stronger. Eventually, people notice your success. What they often don't see are the countless small decisions that made it possible. They see the results. You remember the process. And that's the secret. Success isn't one giant moment. It's thousands of ordinary moments handled with extraordinary consistency. So don't underestimate today's small effort. Read one more page. Practice one more skill. Take one more healthy step. Learn one more useful lesson. Encourage one more person. Improve one more habit. Those actions may not change your life today, but together they can completely change your future. Remember this whenever progress feels slow. You are not falling behind simply because results are invisible. Many of the most important changes happen before anyone else can see them. Your discipline is growing. Your confidence is growing. Your knowledge is growing. Your character is growing. And eventually, your results will reflect that invisible progress. The 1% rule isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming intentional. It's about making decisions today that your future self will thank you for. You don't need extraordinary talent. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need to know every answer before you begin. You only need the courage to take the next small step, then take another, and another. Over time, those small steps become an incredible journey, because the life you've always wanted is rarely built through dramatic changes. It's built through small choices made consistently, patiently, and with purpose. So starting today, challenge yourself to become just 1% better than yesterday. Protect your time, value learning, stay disciplined, be patient with yourself, trust the process, and remember that every great achievement begins with one simple decision, the decision to improve. 1% may seem small today, but over time, it can become the difference between staying where you are and becoming the person you were always capable of being.